Hello, everyone. Welcome to Options with Doug, streaming live on Monday and Wednesday at 1:30 p.m. Eastern Time on Bookmap Discord and the Bookmap YouTube channel. Before I get started, I need to go through the disclosures. General disclosure: all Bookmap Limited materials, information, and presentations are for educational purposes only and should not be considered specific investment advice nor recommendations. Risk disclosure: trading futures, equities, and options involves substantial risk of loss and is not suitable for all investors. Past performance is not necessarily indicative of future results. Here's my contact information. You can contact me through Discord. My name on Discord is Doug P. Also in Bookmap Discord, there's an Options-Jug chat channel. That's a great place to post questions, comments, and content related to the topics of my presentation and the topics of the channel that I'll go through in just a moment. I'm also on X. My name there is @DougPless. Here are the key tenets to my approach to trading. I believe that options trades and market maker hedging activity are key drivers of price in many stocks and futures. Certainly that applies for the large cap tech stocks like the Magnificent Seven stocks, as well as the equity index futures like the S&P 500 and the NASDAQ 100. And for the S&P 500, SPX is the underlying index. SPY is the ETF version of that index, and the ES futures contract is a derivative of SPX. And when traders buy and sell puts and calls in SPX and SPY, market makers take the opposite side of those trades and they hedge their delta exposure with the ES futures. And for the NASDAQ 100, NDX is the underlying index. QQQ is the much more liquid ETF version of the index, and the NQ futures contract is a derivative of NDX. And just like the S&P 500, when traders buy and sell puts and calls in NDX and QQQ, market makers take the opposite side of those trades and they hedge their delta exposure with NQ futures. The focus of my presentation today and the focus of the Options-Jug chat channel is options order flow, the impact of options markets on stocks and futures, and the influence of market maker hedging flow on price action. I have a two-step process for trading, and the first is planning. I use positional analysis. I look at how traders and market makers are positioned in the options market and how those positions change from day to day to develop a thesis regarding expected trading range and volatility for the day, as well as a directional bias. And the second step in my process is execution. I look at real-time order flow in Bookmap and real-time market maker hedging flow in Spotgamma Hero to confirm my thesis and for setups. And when I talk about setups today, I will be focusing on an underlying asset. Setups in that asset can be taken with futures contracts, shares of stock, or options, depending on the way you like to trade, as well as the asset. Questions and comments are welcome, and I will be watching both the Options-Jug chat channel as well as the chat and YouTube for your questions or comments. Please feel free to post. I'll do my best to answer your questions. All right, let's get started. Agenda for today, Monday, March 31st. First of all, I want to go over news items, economic data, and events for today and the rest of the week. Then I'll go through my positional analysis. Then I'll review some setups earlier today. Then I'll take a look at the live market. And when I get to the live market, if anyone has any stocks they want me to take a look at, please let me know and I'll be glad to do that. All right, let's start with news items. I'm going to take a look at the Spotgamma dashboard. This is the home screen for the dashboard. Today there are there's one big event, the JP Morgan collar roll. More about that in a few minutes. And then coming up the rest of the week, there are some data releases and events coming up. So tomorrow there is PMI data coming out, S&P manufacturing PMI at 9:45 a.m. and then at 10 a.m. the ISM manufacturing PMI, also the JOLTS job data. And then, of course, Wednesday, big event is the tariff day, what President Trump is calling Liberation Day. So big news coming on Wednesday. Then Thursday, more PMI data. This time, services PMI, U.S. S&P services PMI at 9:45, and ISM services PMI at 10 a.m. And then big data report for the week is the jobs report, 8:30 a.m. Friday morning. And then Jerome Powell will be speaking at 11:25 on Friday morning. So key events for the week: J.P. Morgan collar roll today, tariff day on Wednesday, and jobs report and Powell speaking on Friday. All right, let's move on to positional analysis now. Let's start with the S&P 500. This is the ES Futures and Bookmap. There are some key levels in play for today, SPX levels. And before we take a closer look at this chart, let's step back, take a look at a larger time frame, higher time frame. I'm going to go to the SPX, the underlying index. Correction began right at the February expiration. SPX found support just above the 5,500 put wall at the time. And then last week, reversed lower, and then today actually undercut that previous low, but is now trading, SPX is trading higher. All right, let's take a look now at a closer look at the SPX. Let's go to a 30-day 1-hour chart. And sorry about the compressed view here. There are some Spotgamma levels in play for today. Let me talk about those first, and then I can zoom in. So Spotgamma levels, so this is shown by the dark red lines. And I'm going to point out the key daily levels. There's the absolute gamma strike at 5,000. That's a strike with largest absolute positive and negative gamma. That's where most of the gamma-weighted open interest is concentrated. We'll take a closer look at that in just a minute as we focus on SPX levels. So that level did move down substantially from Friday. It was 6,000 on Friday, moved down to 5,000 today. Then the call wall is up at 6,500. That's a strike with large net positive gamma that can be expected to act as resistance. Certainly that is well out of play for today. So those two levels, the absolute gamma strike and the call wall, not in play. And the call wall did move higher from 6,000 on Friday. All right, let's zoom in on this chart now so we can get a closer look at the levels that are in play. Let's start with the expected moves. The weekly expected move, that's shown by the dashed purple lines. This is based on the closing price for SPX from last Friday. Those levels remain in place for the entire week. Then the dashed blue lines are showing the lower and upper daily expected move, also based on the options market, based on the closing price for SPX from last Friday. I do post those levels in Discord every day the evening before. And note that SPX did trade down below the lower daily expected move today and is now trading above that level. All right, the rest of the Spotgamma levels in play for today are the put wall, and that is at 55.65. And that happens to be the J.P. Morgan long put and the J.P. Morgan collar that expires today. And J.P. Morgan will be rolling that. And I can tell you for certainty that the put wall will not be at that level tomorrow. It's most likely will be at 5,500 or 5,600 as that very negative gamma expires at the 55.65. So that is the put wall and also the J.P. Morgan long collar strike. And the put wall is a strike with largest net negative gamma that can be expected to act as support. And today it was actually noted as resistance in the Spotgamma AM Founders Note, and the 5,500 level was noted as support. and Spotgamma really nailed that with the 5,500. Price did undercut that, but that level, around that level, did act as support, and the 55.65 acting as resistance. And then finally, the next key daily level is the volatility trigger. That's the VT at 57.50. And that is Spotgamma's proprietary volatility and gamma flip level. Below that level, market makers' position on the gamma curve is negative. In a negative gamma environment, market makers have to trade with price to hedge their delta exposure, and that tends to enhance and increase volatility. And that is certainly the case for today. SPX is in a very, very negative gamma environment with market makers trading with price, both to the downside and the upside. More about that in a few minutes. We'll actually take a look at the VANA model today to get a graphical representation of that information. All right, so those are the key daily levels. And for SPX, the volatility trigger shifted higher, put wall shifted lower, and it again at 55.65. It will not be at that level tomorrow. Call wall shifted higher to 6,500, and the absolute gamma strike shifted down to 5,000. And for SPY, the put wall also shifted lower, call wall also shifted higher, and the absolute gamma strike also shifted lower. So simultaneous shifts lower and higher in the key daily levels for SPX and SPY. All right, let's wrap up our view of SPX with a 1-minute chart so we can get a final look at the SPX levels in play for today. So here's that reversal lower that began last Wednesday. More tariff news, hot inflation data on Friday, and the downtrend that began on Wednesday continued on Friday. Gap down today, down below the 5,500 level, and now SPX is trading up to that 55.65 level and has found resistance at that level. All right, back to Bookmap now. All right, so the reason that I like to look at SPX in isolation is because of the levels in play for today. So here's a cluster of levels. This is the lower daily expected move for ES. The SPY 547 level, which really, that if you look at the exact level that held us support, that was the support level. Just above that is the SPX 5500 level that was noted as support in the Spotgamma AM Founders Note. And then here is the 55.65 level. So nice reversal higher from the 5500 support level up to the 55.65 resistance level. And again, that was something that Spotgamma did call today. They were looking for an upside reversal. And we'll talk more about setups in just a few minutes. Very, very nice bullish setup, both in order flow and hedging flow here in the S&P 500 today. And Bankroll, welcome, glad you're here. Ask, can anyone answer me? Do I need rhythmic or is Bookmap data the same? Not one video on it, sad. I'm using Bookmap data. And I have switched from rhythmic to Bookmap data, and I like Bookmap data. I think it's a little bit less expensive than rhythmic data. So I made the switch again from rhythmic to Bookmap data, and so far I'm happy with it. All right, so I hope that helps. All right, so that is the S&P 500. More about setups in just a few minutes. I mentioned shifts, lower and higher, mostly lower. All right, let's go to NASDAQ. This is the NQ futures of Bookmap. And before I take a closer look at this chart, I'm going to take a look at the underlying index charts. Here's QQQ. Note 465 is the put wall, and that is the lowest spot gamma level right now today. So QQQ was trading below all spot gamma levels and traded up to the put wall, which now appears to be acting as resistance. And there's looks like kind of a head and shoulders pattern here. So the put wall, 465 put wall, and QQQ acting as resistance. Let's take a look at NDX. NDX is trading above its put wall at 19,000. And no, there's one, there is one spot gamma level down lower for NDX. It's right around 18,500. But put wall at 19,000, then at 127, a combo level, acting as resistance. That lines up with the QQQ 465 put wall. All right, back to Bookmap NQ futures. And really it was the right around the NQ 19,000 level acting as support. And then again up to the 465 put wall that lines up with that combo level, head and shoulders pattern. We'll take a look at setups in just a few minutes and see what options traders are doing. All right, so for NASDAQ, for QQQ, volatility trigger, put wall, and absolute gamma strike shifted lower. Call wall did shift higher, up to 500, not really in play. So I would really call that a bearish hat trick for QQQ. And then for NDX, the volatility trigger shifted slightly lower. And again, we'll talk about setups in just a few minutes. All right, so that is the levels in play for the S&P 500. NASDAQ, let's take a look at gamma, very important today. Extremely negative gamma. This is market maker's position on the gamma curve at the beginning of the day. For the S&P 500, NASDAQ, Russell 2000, note all these numbers are negative. They're quite negative. And these numbers did all shift lower from Friday, so more negative than Friday, of course, with the big drop down on Friday. All right, let's take a look at a real-time view of gamma now. And this is the trace tool. It's available to Spotgamma subscribers. And I'm looking at the gamma heat map. And the bright red area, that is negative gamma. And of course, this is dominated by the JP Morgan long put. That's the long put in the JP Morgan collar. So JP Morgan sells a call, and they use the proceeds of that call to buy a put spread. And I believe the put spread was at 55.65. That's the long put, and I believe it was 4,700 for the short. So way out of play. So very wide put spread, and that is certainly dominating the gamma heat map today. And that will not be the case tomorrow. So again, that's the 55.65 strike. And this is the market maker's position, negative gamma at that strike. All right, so that's the current picture of gamma. Note the stability index. Can't get much lower than this. So looking for a lot of movement today. Let's take a quick look at the SPX indexes. There are three charts I want to take a look at. First of all, let's take a look at the total gamma. This is the absolute gamma. And let's focus on several strikes. So right here, that's the 5,500 strike. So this is showing market makers gamma position. Blue is negative gamma. That's the put negative gamma. Orange, positive gamma for calls. The 5,500 strike. This is the level. Around that level, acted as support today. And that is a potential candidate for the put wall tomorrow. There's the 5,600 level. Another potential candidate for the put wall tomorrow. And there's the 55.65. So even though that is dominating today because of the large amount of gamma that expires today. So gamma is greatest at the money at expiration. So that is certainly dominating today. All right, let's take a look at the combo strikes now. Let's take a look at next expiration. So there's the 55.65 strike. It's shown here at 55.64. That's a combo strike combining SPX and SPY. But that is certainly dominating because of the high gamma, again, at expiration at the money. Then finally, let's take a look at the VANA model. So what this is showing is market makers delta notional on the vertical axis, price for SPX on the horizontal axis. There are two curves on this chart. So this is showing how market makers delta notional changes in price only. And this is showing how the purple curve is showing how market makers delta notional changes with changes in price and implied volatility. And that change in delta notional with a change in implied volatility is the VANA effect. VANA is a second order Greek. So what this is showing, let's find the low of the day, which was right around, I believe, 54.88. Here we go, right around here. So what this is showing is price has now been moving up. Price is moving up. Market makers delta notional is decreasing. And they can buy back their short hedges. So they were quite negative with their hedges. So price increasing, delta notional decreases, implied volatility drops. Market makers can buy back short hedges. All right, so that's the VANA model. And this curve is typical of a very, very negative gamma environment. Let's take a look at another chart real quick. Let's go to our SPX chart. Change this to VIX as a proxy for implied volatility. Zoom in on today. There was a brief bearish opening drive for about 15 minutes. We'll see that in just a minute. Then VIX began to drop. Price increasing. Implied volatility drops. Market makers can buy back short hedges. And now note that VIX has settled down here as SPX has rallied up to the 55.65 strike. All right, let's go back to SPX. All right, any questions about that? Any questions about the dynamics going on today? All right, if not, let's move on to execution. And I'm going to start with the S&P 500, and I'm going to take a look at what options traders have been doing today. There are two signals that we can take a look at for the S&P 500. This is the index signal showing options trades and market maker hedging activity for the S&P 500 index components with options trading, SPX, SPY, ES, and XSP. And I'm going to focus on this chart today. Zoom all the way out. So again, what this is showing is options trades and market maker hedging activity for those index components. And the white line is the price line for SPX, and the purple line is the hero signal, combining puts and calls. Let's zoom in on this just a bit. Remember, I mentioned there was about a 15-minute bearish opening drive and a mild drop in the hero signal, and then a very strong reversal right around 9:45. And that actually provided a little bit of a lead here. Let's zoom in just a little bit more. Note the hero signal starts to move up. And note this is also a staging environment with these candlesticks for the hero signal. This is not has not been released yet. So I'm in a beta staging environment right now. And it does provide, I think, some interesting clues. So you can see the shade of the candles now shifting, and also in the volume bars down below. Large red volume bars. Those are actually delta. And then the green bars start to come in. Hero signal moves higher, and price reverses higher, and then rallies up to the 55.65 level. And note how the hero signal has now, flattened out completely. So the call buyers and put sellers have taken the foot off the gas as prices moved up, SPX has moved up to that, again, the 55.65 level. All right, let's take a look in Bookmap. Very nice long setup here. After that 15-minute bearish opening drive, let's zoom in on this. Whoops. All right, let's take a look at the volume dots first. You can see the magenta volume dots, aggressive sellers on the way down. Sellers become exhausted. Some buyers start to come in. That's shown by the green volume dots. And price moves higher. So there's the volume dots. Sellers are exhausted and buyers come in. Note also the rising blue line here, light blue line, that's showing iceberg orders. So large traders were fading this move with iceberg orders they used to hide their size. Very typical behavior. Large traders fading that move with iceberg orders they used to hide their size. So they're buying weakness, and price reverses higher as options traders start buying calls and selling puts. Market makers take the opposite side of those trades, and they have to buy ES futures to hedge their delta exposure. Very nice bullish setup here. And rising cumulative volume delta, that's shown by the magenta line, and also buy stop orders shown by the yellow line, all help to fuel that move higher. And there were a couple of pullback moves. Here's the deepest pullback move right here to right at 10:15, 10:20 to 10:30. A little bit of consolidation, then price continues higher, up again to the resistance level. All right, so that is the S&P 500. Floyd's Garage, welcome. Glad you're here. Says icebergs are nice to see. Yeah, definitely a great confirmation of this reversal higher. Aggressive buyers coming in, sellers are exhausted, large traders buying with iceberg orders, and also options traders buying calls and selling puts. All right, that's the S&P 500. Let's go back to Hero now. Let's take a look at the equity signal. And this reversal higher was pretty clear on the equity signal. Also note with this bearish opening drive, the equity signal was really pretty flat and then started to move higher just a couple minutes before price started to move higher. But overall for today, I think there's more clarity in the index signal. All right, one thing we're going to be taking a look at, keeping a watch for, is zero DTE trades, signaling the rapid zero DTE movement as the JP Morgan collar rolls. So remember, the JP Morgan collar expires today, and they will be rolling sometime between now and the close. All right, so far there's no evidence of that in Hero. All right, let's take a look at NASDAQ. Let me turn off zero DTE. All right, there was an issue with Hero this morning. So the instruments that I can take a look at with Hero are a little bit limited. One of those is the NASDAQ signal. Data was missing. Didn't come in until just a little bit after 10 a.m. So this is the NASDAQ index signal showing options trades, market maker hedging activity for NDX QQQ. Let's move on to Mag 7. So that signal is complete. This is showing options trades, market maker hedging activity for the stocks known as the Magnificent Seven: Apple, Amazon, Google, Meta, Microsoft, NVIDIA, and Tesla. We'll take a look at some of those stocks in just a minute. All right, so same reversal here. And actually the Mag 7 signal started to move higher before the NASDAQ moved higher. This price is shown for QQQ. That's the white line, price for QQQ. Setting up that reversal higher right around 9:45. All right, let's take a look at NQ. Back to Bookmap, NQ futures. Zoom in. All right, similar sub-chart first. Large traders coming in, fading this move. So they were buying weakness, fading that move down. And then as price makes a low, aggressive buyers start to come in. See the large green volume dots. Sellers are exhausted. Aggressive buyers start to come in. And there's the first reversal entry, then pullback entries. As price continues to move higher. And the iceberg orders, large traders find they take the foot off the gas. Around 10:45, 11 o'clock. All right, so that is the NASDAQ now. And it looks like it's in a trading range right now between QQQ 463 on the downside and the 465 put wall on the upside. All right, let's take a look at some stocks. Then we'll get back to the S&P 500. All right, first stock I want to take a look at is Apple. Remember, again, there was an issue with Hero this morning, so the Hero is perfectly fine for some symbols, some name, some stocks, but not others. So this is a very, very nice bullish setup. Zoom in. Very bullish opening drive. Remember, indexes dropped lower. Apple did as well. But traders with options were fading that move. So on Apple, as price was moving down, traders were selling puts and then they started buying calls. That's shown by the rising orange line for calls, blue line for puts, and they continue. So a bullish opening drive, bullish momentum continuation pattern, and then exhaustion pattern. So bullish opening drive, continuation pattern, then exhaustion at the 220 hedge wall. So options traders take their foot off the gas as Apple trades up to that potential resistance level that now is acting as a resistance. So let's go take a look at Apple here. Bullish opening drive. There's the 225 hedge wall. And price did trade higher after finding a resistance at that level a couple times. Continued higher. And then finally found resistance at the high liquidity at 221, and that's absorption at that level. Not all those orders were consumed. Those are limit sell orders, tend to act as magnets for price, but very nice bullish setup in Apple today. And Suresh, welcome, glad you're here. Asked, how do you read the COB graph in Bookmap? Not quite sure what you mean. All right, so these are limit orders in the order book. And let me zoom just a little bit. So the heat map is showing a history of the limit orders in the order book. And then the COB right here is showing the current orders. So what this is showing is this is where the highest level of orders, those are limit sell orders in the order book. And that's indicating they remain in place. So the heat map to the left of that is showing a history of the limit orders in the order book, and then the COB, the current order book, is showing the actual live limit orders. Again, those are limit sell orders up above price. All right, Suresh, hope that helps. Hope that answers your question. Let's take a look at one other stock. Actually, I've got a couple of the best stock today to trade was Tesla. Definitely from the long side. Tesla's one of the beating stocks that has been beaten down lately. Nice bullish setup. Let's take a look and see what options traders are doing. Let's go to Tesla. I'm going to shift to total signal first. Oops. Tesla, a little bit up and down this morning. Let's focus on these two long setups. First one, right around 945. Tesla reverse tire, indexes reverse tire. Flow alert comes in. Signals significant options activity, get your attention. Right before that reversal, helping to set up that long, again, right at 945. Then right around 10, just after 10 to 10:10, Hero makes a lower high as price makes a higher high. Price versus lower. Back down. Another flow alert comes in. And then soon after, Hero reverses higher. A little bit of a chop here, then a breakout above this consolidation level, and Tesla reversed, continued higher as traders were buying calls and selling puts. That's that 1030 reversal. Flow alert. Trader starts selling puts, buying calls. Price moves higher. Breaks out of that little consolidation there, moves higher. Another flow alert and signaling a potential reversal in the hedging flow from positive delta to potentially negative delta. That's what happened for just a few minutes. Then traders resume buying calls, buying puts. They continue to buy calls, and Tesla continues to move higher. And Tesla did break out above the 250 put wall key gamma strike. So very nice long setups in Tesla, not quite as clear as Apple. Also note all the green volume dots. A lot of aggressive buyers in buying Tesla today. They may not be buying Tesla cars anymore, but they're definitely buying Tesla stock today. Buying calls, selling puts, and buying the underlying. There's the 250 key gamma strike. All right, let's check on S&P 500 again. Any questions? Anyone have any stocks they want me to take a look at? All right, so S&P 500 has broken out above the 55.65 level. Let's take a look at a hero and see what's going on. Very strong breakout. Total signal. S&P 500 index signal. Let's check 0 DTE. Let's check trace. I really don't see anything out of the ordinary. It looks like a little bit of positive pocket of positive gamma developing above 5,600 right there. Could act as resistance. Let's check charm. So charm is showing, this is showing buying support, selling pressure due to the passage of time, the decrease or the as expiration approaches, change in time. All right, so now according to charm, that SPX has moved up into this level of buying support due to approaching expiration, time decay. All right, back to gamma. Back to hero. All right, very strong breakout above that level, above the consolidation resistance level. Back to Bookmap. Let's check NASDAQ. And NASDAQ has also broken out of its consolidation above the 465 put wall. Let's go back and check hero. Turn on 0 TTE again. So far the purple and red candles are showing the all expirations, and then these green candles are showing the 0 DTE. Those are trades, options trades that expire today again for the index components. And it looks like the 0 DTE so far today is less than half of the total all expirations. So this looks like longer term than options that expire today, the hero signal. All right, questions, comments? Anyone have anything they want me to take a look at? Let's take a quick look at the equity signal. Looks like in terms of equities, the 0 TTE, which would actually, this is next expiration for equities. This would be options that expire on Friday, playing a little bit larger role compared to the index. All right, back to Bookmap. So this looks like just maybe a pullback. Pull back around to 556. Next target above is that 5600 level. Remember, we saw that pocket of positive gamma up around 5600. That was noted as the next resistance level in the AM Founders Note, Spotgamma AM Founders Note. Floyd's Garage asked, does the Mag 7 look about the same? All right, let's go to Hero. Here's Mag 7. So yeah, the S&P equities in the Mag 7 are going to look similar because the S&P equities is essentially the Mag 7 plus 493. And Mike asked, is short strangle good when reaching major put or call wall? I would say if you want to trade the walls, the put wall, call wall, and I would say when price trades down to the put wall, reverses higher, I would look at a long call spread or a short put spread. And just the reverse for when price reaches the call wall, long put spread or short call spread. And I would not necessarily want to trade a strangle at either level, since those are the extremes on either end typically. Put wall on the downside, call wall on the upside. So again, I would just be leaning toward a vertical at so bullish trade at the put wall, bearish trade at the call wall. More directional than just a strangle. All right, let's go back to the index signal. Check trace again. Still a little bit of pocket of positive gamma up around 5,600. Let's just check and see how some of the other Mag 7 stocks are doing. Let's go to Bookmap. Check back with Apple. All right, back above the 220. above the 220 hedge wall, trying to back up to that 221 liquidity. Let's check Amazon. So we'll just run through all the Mag 7s. All right, so double bottom reversal in Amazon this morning. Price up to 190. Let's check Hero. I think Amazon was one of the, we turn 0 DTE off. Amazon, no, it did have a complete Hero signal, but not as clear as Apple and Tesla. Google, a little bit more clear. Institutional kickoff, consolidation after that, then traders started taking positive delta options positions again. So Google moving higher after a 15-minute bearish opening drive. Check Meta. Bullish day in Meta. Let's check Hero. So yeah, Meta's one of the stocks with incomplete Hero data. Didn't come in until after 10 a.m. Not providing much of a clue. A lot of aggressive buyers. Let's go back to the Bookmap. Rising cumulative volume delta, a lot of green volume dots. Traders are buying Meta stock today. Driving price higher in Meta. Let's check Microsoft. Choppy but moving higher. Check NVIDIA. NVIDIA, the Hero signal was incomplete, but a lot of aggressive buyers in buying NVIDIA stock, taking advantage of the dip. We'll check the Hero signal. And Mike, you're welcome. Mike says thanks. And also, can you suggest some strategies for trading volatility trigger? Yeah, the volatility trigger can often act as support and resistance. So if, just like if price is moving up to a volatility trigger, I would expect that to act as resistance. And I would want to confirm that with order flow and hedging flow. And if that's the case, you could sell underlying at that point, or take buy puts, or again buy a put spread or sell a call spread, and that's when a volatility trigger is tested from below. When tested from above, I assume that it's going to act as support, and then I want to confirm that with order flow and hedging flow. And if that's the case, I want to buy underlying, buy call, or buy call spread or sell a put spread. All right, here's NVIDIA, a little bit more clear today. Again, Hero signal not working for the first half hour or so, but here's the reversal. 10:30, traders start taking positive delta positions. Price moves higher. Let's go to Bookmap. All right, so there's NVIDIA, aggressive buyers in. Let's go back to the S&P 500. All right, now S&P 500 finding resistance just below the SPY 557 level. I'm going to darken up the heat map. So remember, the heat map showing history limit orders in the order book. So there are some limit sell orders coming in. And you can see that separately from this cloud, this algo cloud, that's always moving with ES. Let's check Hero. Back to index components. So after that breakout, a brief move up and then consolidation. See if anything's happening with 0 TTE. Not really, not so far. Check S&P equities. Now flattening out. All right, questions, comments? Does anyone have any stocks they want me to take a look at? Floyd's Garage wants to take a look at Palantir. Palantir moving higher. Hero Signal shows that they're really selling puts today. That is driving price higher. Put sellers. Let's take a look at Bookmap. Go to Palantir. It looks like there are a lot of high beta stocks, lower quality, driving price higher today. Kind of a risk on. I'm looking at a watch list on another screen. I have Hims and Hers Health, Carvana, Tempest AI, Palantir, Nano Nuclear Energy, Lightbridge, Iran Limited, Teladoc, Robinhood, Celsius, GameStop. All at the top of my list for the change at the open. So put sellers driving Palantir higher today. All right, back to the S&P 500. And let's go back to Hero and trace. Let me zoom all the way out. Still the 55-65 strike is dominating. With a pocket of positive VANA up around, up above 5,600. And so far, net for the day, very bullish day. Back to Bookmap. All right, last call for questions, comments. Tone down that heat map a little bit. Let's see if they can make it up to the sellers up above, right around 56.38 to 40. And Floyd's Garage, welcome. Have a nice day yourself. See you later. Hope you're here on Wednesday. All right, everyone, my time is up. I want to thank you very much for watching. Remember, coming up this week, PMI data tomorrow, 9:45 and 10 a.m. Then big event day, tariff day on Wednesday. We'll talk about that on Wednesday, 1:30 p.m. Eastern Time. And then the big Friday data jobs report, 8:30 a.m. Eastern Time. And then Jerome Powell speaking, 11:25. All right, everyone, again, thank you very much for watching. Thanks for your questions and comments. Have a great afternoon, and I will see you on Wednesday. Bye.